My name is Emma Whitfield, and I watched my stepmother throw 22 years of my childhood into a burning barrel while she smiled and warmed her hands over the flames. She thought she was erasing me. She was actually lighting the fuse on her own destruction. If you enjoy stories like this, hit subscribe, because trust me, this one gets good. I was 30 years old when my father, Richard Whitfield, married Denise. I'd lost my mother to cancer when I was 11, and for 6 years after that, it was just me and Dad in our small house in Portland, Oregon, figuring life out together. He ran a modest but successful contracting business, and every photo of my childhood, birthdays, graduations, my mother's smiling face, lived in albums on our living room shelf. When Dad introduced me to Denise, she seemed perfect. Warm laugh, remembered my coffee order, complimented my mother's photos on the mantle like she genuinely admired the woman who came before her. My best friend since childhood, Marcus, was skeptical from day one. "Something's off with her smile," Marcus told me at Dad's engagement party. "It doesn't reach her eyes when she looks at your dad's money." I laughed it off. Marcus had never trusted anyone I introduced him to. I told him he was being paranoid. I was wrong. The wedding was beautiful. The first year was even better. Denise cooked family dinners, planned trips, told Dad how lucky he was to have a daughter like me. Honeymoon phase, textbook perfect. Then the cracks started. Small things first. She'd accidentally throw away my mail. She'd correct me in front of Dad about things that never happened. "Emma, you know you said that," when I hadn't. She started calling me sensitive and dramatic whenever I pushed back, and slowly, my father started repeating her words back to me. 18 months in, Denise convinced Dad to sell our old family house, the one my mother decorated, the one with my growth marks penciled into the kitchen door frame, and move into a new place she picked out. I lost that door frame forever. I cried for a week. Dad apologized, said Denise just wanted a fresh start for all of us. The calm lasted maybe 2 weeks before the next incident. At a family Thanksgiving in front of 12 relatives, Denise announced that I'd been struggling financially and mentally since my mother died. A complete fabrication, painting me as unstable while she squeezed my father's arm and played the concerned stepmother. I sat there humiliated, shaking, while relatives glanced at me with pity I didn't deserve. Dad apologized again that night. "She's just protective of the family," he said. The peace after that lasted 4 days. Over the next 3 years, my father drifted from me in inches. Denise controlled his phone, his calendar, his moods. My calls went to voicemail. Family dinners disappeared. Marcus was the only one who stayed constant, showing up every single time I needed him, reminding me I wasn't crazy. Then my father got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 8 months to live, the doctor said. That's when everything sped up. I moved back to help care for him, sleeping in the guest room of the house I'd never wanted him to buy. Denise didn't like that. She hovered. She interrupted my time with him. She started reorganizing the house. Closets, the garage, the attic. One afternoon, I came home from the pharmacy and found her in the backyard, feeding a metal burn barrel with photo albums. My mother's face. My 3rd birthday. My high school graduation. 22 years of memory curling into ash and smoke. "What are you doing?" I screamed, running across the lawn. Denise didn't even flinch. She stirred the barrel with a stick like she was tending a campfire. "Your father doesn't need clutter right now. He needs to focus on healing, not living in the past." Her voice was calm, rehearsed, cruel. I dropped to my knees and pulled out what I could. A half-burned photo of my mother holding me as a baby, the edges curling black. That photo was all that survived. That night, my father was too weak to intervene the way he once would have. He apologized on Denise's behalf, said she didn't understand what those photos meant, and within an hour, Denise was sweetly bringing him tea like nothing happened. The apology-to-calm cycle that used to take weeks now took hours. 2 weeks later, everything changed again. My father's older brother, my Uncle Gary, called to say he was flying in from Arizona. He hadn't seen Dad in 3 years, and with the diagnosis, he wasn't going to miss his chance. Denise went pale when I mentioned it at dinner. She excused herself early that night. I should have paid closer attention to that reaction. I didn't yet know why. 3 days before Gary's visit, I was doing laundry and found Denise's phone charging in the hallway, screen lit up with a notification preview. Transfer confirmed. $340,000 to account ending 8821. My hands went cold. I wasn't trying to snoop, but once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I called Marcus that night from the bathroom. "I think she's been moving money. A lot of it." "Emma," he said, "you need to find out how much, and you need proof, not a phone notification. Can you get into Richard's financial accounts?" The next morning, while Denise was at her weekly spa appointment, an appointment I now realized she never missed even during Dad's worst chemo days, I sat with my father and gently asked about the estate. He was lucid that morning, clearer than he'd been in weeks. "Dad," I said carefully, "have you and Denise talked about the will?" He nodded slowly. "She handles all that now. Power of attorney since I get so tired." He said it like it was normal, like it hadn't been engineered. That was the moment I understood. Denise wasn't protecting my father. She was harvesting him. Marcus helped me find an estate attorney the same week, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Patricia Alvarez, who'd handled elder financial abuse cases for 18 years. I brought her the burned photo, my written timeline of incidents, and the bank notification screenshot. Patricia's face went hard as she listened. "This is a pattern," she told me. "Isolation, control of finances, destruction of evidence tying you to the estate emotionally. Classic. We need documentation, and we need it before he passes, or you'll have almost no legal standing to contest anything." Uncle Gary arrived that Friday. The moment he saw how thin and disoriented my father had become, how Denise answered every question for him, how she hovered like a guard dog, he pulled me into the garage and asked what the hell was going on. I told him everything. He believed me instantly. He'd never trusted Denise either. Together, Gary, Marcus, and I built a case over the next 6 weeks. Gary, a retired financial auditor, traced $1.2 million, nearly Dad's entire retirement and life insurance payout, structured over the prior 2 years, moving into accounts under Denise's maiden name, plus a property purchase in Sedona that my father had no knowledge of. Patricia filed an emergency petition to suspend Denise's power of attorney, citing financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The final incident happened 4 days before the hearing. My father, in a rare burst of strength, confronted Denise about the Sedona property after I gently showed him the documents. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She screamed at a dying man, called him pathetic and a burden, and stormed out, leaving him alone, gasping, terrified. I held him that night while he cried into my shoulder, apologizing to me for every year he hadn't believed me. I see her now. I see what I let happen to you. That was enough. That was everything. The hearing was held in a Multnomah County courtroom on a gray Tuesday morning. Patricia laid out the financial records, the timeline of isolation, the medical documentation of my father's declining capacity when the transfers began. Denise sat rigid in a navy blazer, her lawyer scrambling. Gary testified. I testified, describing the burn barrel, the ash, the one surviving photo I brought with me in a plastic sleeve and set on the evidence table. The judge froze all disputed accounts pending investigation, reinstated my father's original will naming me primary beneficiary, and referred the case to the district attorney's financial crimes unit for potential elder abuse charges. Denise was escorted out of that courthouse with cameras from a local news outlet catching her expression. The mask, finally, completely gone. My father passed away 11 weeks later, peacefully, in a bed with me holding one hand and Gary holding the other. In his final clear days, he changed everything. He changed everything back. Full inheritance to me, a letter of apology I still keep in my nightstand, and one wish, that I use the money to build something that lasted longer than what Denise tried to burn. Denise was indicted 8 months later on charges of financial exploitation of an elderly person and elder abuse. She pled to a reduced charge, forfeited the Sedona property and frozen accounts back into my father's estate, and received 5 years probation with a felony record that ended her career as a bookkeeper for good. She lost everything she schemed for. The house she picked out sold at auction to cover restitution. I used part of the $1.2 million to open a small nonprofit photo restoration and family archive service, helping other families protect and preserve what abusers tried to destroy. Every photo we restore, I think of that one scorched picture of my mother holding me as a baby, the only piece of my childhood Denise couldn't finish burning. Marcus still checks my instincts about people to this day. Uncle Gary calls every Sunday, and I sleep better now than I have in years.